the Ron and Brian Podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
All right, here we are back again. Brian, it is a very special Sunday night, 8 o'clock. You and me here for episode number 200, Brian. Brian, can you believe that we have made it this long?
No. And at the same time, absolutely. We are a force to be reckoned with. We are each week one step closer to global domination. Each week, another episode of a 1 hour entertainment that has been released to the masses. The Ron and Brian universe is growing every week. So do I believe that we will hit 250? Yes. Do I think we will hit 300? Yes. 400? Yes.
Okay. All right.
500? Definite. 600? Maybe.
Possibly. Depends how healthy we keep ourselves. I mean,
Well, I think there's only one way to ensure that we keep healthy, and that's to keep drinking.
All right. So are you saying you want to start off with our drink of the week?
Why not?
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Pleasure.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
All right, Brian, what did you bring to celebrate episode 200? Oh, going old school.
Oh, yeah. I'm rocking thanks to the Huntington, New York Theater in Paramount, the Paramount Theater in Huntington. Once more, Brian stole beer, walked out with a cardboard box filled with beer. I've got about 7 or 8 of these. Hopefully, I'll knock some of them out. But what you're looking at, people, here is this is Corona Extra from Grupo Modelo, which is currently owned by Constellation Brands. Brewery location, Mexico City, Mexico. 4.6 ABV. It's a Mexican lager. Beer Advocate scores at 57, which makes it ranked 3,699th in the world. It's an affordable and widely available Mexican lager that's known for its drinkability. It's refreshing and crisp and uncomplicated. It's lighter than some of its competitors, with a light yellow hue in the glass that's reminiscent of straw or faded copper. The nose, some sweet malt, and a bit of that signature skunkiness, Jesus Christ, come through, along with a hint of citrus and green apple. On the palate, Corona is immediately recognizable with a sharp effervescence that immediately starts at the tip of the tongue and travels upward.
Any lime in that beer?
I did put a little lime juice.
All right, nice.
Should I keep going, or
I think you've probably given Corona more promotion than they deserve. You seem a little winded. Have a drink. You seem a little parched as well. While I talk about the beer that I brought to the table this week, it is Philadelphia area's own Victory Brewing from their Monkey series. This is Twisted Monkey. This is a Belgian-style blonde ale with mango, clocks in at 5.8%. It's a refreshing twist on mystical flavors. Fruity Belgian yeast is enhanced with an exciting twist of mango, resulting in a big flavor refreshment that only the Monkey can deliver. I'm a fan of the Monkey series with Victory. So there it is, a nice body to that, nice hue. You can kind of a mangoish hue on that. So let's take a little sip.
It's absolutely a nice color.
It's good. It's so good. Refreshing.
Walk me through it. What are you experiencing as it passes past your tongue?
I mean, it's smooth. It's fruity. You definitely get the citrus taste. You get the mango taste. Not too bitter. Not too front forward with the alcohol. This is, I think now that we're getting into warmer weather, you would refer to this as a crushable beer, Brian.
Ooh, Ron has moved away from the stouts over over to the crushable beers.
Yep, it is time. It is time to get into lagers. It is time to get into ales. It is time to get into lighter beers, seltzers. Perhaps we'll see. We'll see what the months bring.
It's time for me to get into some sundresses. You know that this time of year, I love putting on a sundress.
That's right. You know what we are only a few months away from?
What?
The return of hot podcaster summer. So we're not going to break out the sound effect just yet, but it's March. So that means, or excuse me, it's April now. So we're even closer. We're only a couple months away from hot podcaster summer. I know, Brian, you've been missing that. It'll come back soon enough. But you know what's coming back right now? It's our beef of the week.
Ron and Brian's beef of the week.
Brian, what's your beef this week?
You know, I had to think about it. I had to think long and hard.
Did you?
How do I say this politely? Okay. So, are you hearing an echo or am I only hearing an echo?
I'm not hearing an echo.
Anybody? Echo? No echo. I'm hearing an echo.
There's an echo. So,
Ron, take your beef. I'm going to jump out. I'm going to jump right back in.
All right. Brian's going to hop out real quick. Of course, it wouldn't be episode 200 without some audio issues. So he's going to fix that echo. He's going to come right back. And we're going to listen to his beef of the week. Of course, I don't want to take his thunder. I don't want to get into my beef of the week until he comes back. So he is back. Let's get him back in the feed. Brian, we've been waiting for you patiently. What's your beef of the week?
Okay. Here's my beef of the week. It is conceited people who cannot deliver on the very item that they say they are the best at.
Please explain.
A week ago, and exactly a week ago from tonight, I started the episode with thoughts that you could not be beat. You have for months, going back to, I believe, October, maybe August, bragged of your competitive nature and that nobody can defeat you. Nobody can bring the great Ron down. To the point that we incorporated a game in our After Dark Pajama Party available on Patreon behind the paywall. If you want to join, Ron will be putting up the link later, where we invite our Patreons together and we have a game. Can you beat Ron? ? Ron every week has sat there and said, we'll play this game. I cannot be beat. I cannot be beat.
Yep.
Last week, as part of our March After Dark Pajama Party, two very good friends of the show, Janelle and William Esquire, came on and decided that this was the month that Ron was going to show weakness. The game was in celebration of Women's History Month, which it was in March, because we are allies. Ron and Brian are allies. And Ron, you were asked a series of questions about women and their contributions that they have made to society, to art, to history, to politics, to culture, to lifestyle.
This time's gotta stop.
Sorry. Please continue.
And you lost.
I did lose.
You did get beat.
I did. It's no longer can you beat Ron, but it is you can beat Ron.
Yeah, and will you do it again? So if there is any so first off, my beef of the week is that Ron has, for the better part of the past 6 months, bragged that he could not be beaten. Was a lie. He can be beaten. If there's any silver lining into any of this, is the fact that Janelle, who was just incredible in her domination of you, And I know you like to be dominated. I mean, that's something we've spoken about off and on at various times. But in a show of just, what a great person she is, she decided to take the $25 winnings that she was eligible to direct towards her favorite charity, and she decided to make that charitable donation towards Planned Parenthood.
Yep.
which has recently come under great attack by the far right in power, the far right not in power. Their funding has been slashed across the board. We all know what a great cause it is. Planned Parenthood is not just for abortions, but they are in all 50 states, I believe. And they provide health services at low to no cost to women and men, I believe, also, not just women, but of all different types. And it's a great cause. Janelle said, you know what? That's where I want my charitable donation to go to. And just to show you what allies Ron and Brian are, is the fact that I contributed, I matched Janelle's donation. Ron, you matched it as well. William Esquire even came in and he matched it. So as part of our After Dark show last week, it came out as a result. Not only is Ron a complete fucking liar, but we also were able to contribute $100 to Planned Parenthood. Contribution has already been made. Hopefully that money goes, even if it goes to help one person receive medical care that they would not have normally otherwise been able to receive. That was a blessing. And I want to thank everybody that helped make it happen, including myself.
There you go. I mean, if I had to lose, which it still stings, I'm not going to lie, at least something good was to come of it, Brian.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is why, we always said with the Can You Beat Ron game is that a charitable donation will be made to, the organization of the winner's choice.
Yes.
So I felt that, especially with that it was International Women's History Month, it was, Planned Parenthood was a perfect organization. And I could not have been happier that Janelle decided that she was 100% in agreement. And we had a lot of fun. Your heart was broken. We raised some money for a good cause.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. All right. Very
Ron?
nice. Yes, sir.
What's bothering you this week?
So my beef this week, Brian, would be with our listeners, actually, with our fans. As we know, 2 weeks ago. No, you got to hear me out here. 2 weeks ago, I went on a little vacation, had to recharge the batteries. It's a lot carrying the majority ownership of this podcast, and sometimes you need to take a little break. So Brian, to his credit, did a solo show, cranked out an hour and 40 minutes. We followed that up with my triumphant return last week in episode 199. Ron's back, and in looking at the analytics, I can't help but notice that the views and downloads for the Brian solo show have been higher than for my return show. And
no way.
So what I initially tried to look at it, how I tried to look at it initially was, maybe this is the public speaking to me, and maybe I should rethink my 51% ownership. Maybe I should give that percent back to Brian and we should be equal again. I had those thoughts, but on the flip side of that coin, I said I could do that, or I could internalize that. I could allow it to make me bitter and hateful and, create as toxic a working environment for Brian as I possibly could. And I said, let me do that instead. Let me do that. Let me make it so that Brian looks at Sunday night with just abject terror, where normally he loves these Sunday nights. But I'm not, again, I scrapped that whole plan, but just the fact that I feel forsaken by our listeners, by our fans. it hurts. It hurts. It hurts to have lost. Can you beat Ron? The numbers hurt. It's just I'm in a lot of pain, Brian. That is my V for the week.
May I ask, because you know me, I am not a self-congratulatory person. That's not
Right.
really what I'm about. What were the numbers like?
I mean,
percentage-wise, like what was the drop-off?
I would say the drop-off would probably be in the ballpark of 6 or 7%.
That's not too bad, but I can understand how that could be a little bit of a blow to your ego.
But it stings a little bit. It stings.
Do you think, hear me out. First off, I absolutely refuse the concept of you returning 1% ownership of this.
So do I now. I mean, that was a fleeting thought.
Understood. I even if you had stuck with it, I never would have accepted it. And I'll tell you why. Because we made a wager on the Super Bowl. We bet 1% of the podcast.
Correct.
And I lost that bet.
You did.
As I lose almost all bets.
And you won it. So you are 51% ownership until the next Super Bowl, when we will bet double or nothing, I guess. I don't know.
Probably. That would make sense.
My point being is the fact that what do you think if we do what's the word I'm thinking of? We do solo Patreon episodes, a half an hour. We're limited to a half an hour. And then you do a half an hour show. We put it up on the Patreon.
Okay.
So only Patreon subscribers can watch. It's behind the paywall, people. Cough up a couple bucks, $5 or more. And then afterwards, we do a one of those online surveys and ask people which one they preferred more.
We could do that as well. We'll put a little note down. Put a pin in that. We'll come back to that.
Hold on, let me type out something here.
But in the meantime, this is episode 200, and sending out thanks to loyal listener and superfan William Esquire. He's gotten us a cameo for our 200th episode. We are not sure who this cameo is from, so this will be a complete surprise to everyone except William Esquire. Brian, are you ready for our episode 200 cameo?
I believe I was born ready.
All right, let's roll it.
Now keep him.
Brian, I love Ron and Brian. I love Ron and Brian. Actually, that's not true. Actually, I was paid to say that. I'm not saying how much, but thank goodness they had change for a quarter. Anyway, I'm just saying, this is The Unknown Comic, and I want to congratulate Ron and Brian on the 200th episode of the Ron and Brian podcast. But I hear that they're more unknown than I am. No kidding. Hey, and how come Ron gets top billing, right? I mean, why is it at the Brian and Ron podcast? Anyway, what can you say? What can you seriously say about Ron and Brian that hasn't already been said about Kanye West and Pete Davidson? Anyway, this congratulations is from your good friend William. But remember, friends are like snowflakes. That's right, once you pee on them, they disappear. Anyway, good luck, you guys, on having another 200 episodes. But always remember, falling on your face is still moving forward. That's right, and he who laughs last didn't hear the joke first. And remember, you can pick your nose and you can pick your friend, but you can't wipe your friend on the sofa. And remember, a camel with one hump can go 4 months without water, but a man, no matter how much water you give him, cannot go 4 months without a hump. And always remember, never criticize anyone. Never criticize anyone until you walk a mile in their shoes. Because that way, after you've criticized them, you're a mile away and you got their shoes. But most importantly, remember this, Ron and Brian. If your parents didn't have any children, chances are you won't have any children either. Anyway, stay happy, stay healthy, stay silly, and stay loving. From The Unknown Comic.
All right, well, that is The Unknown Comic. What was that show he used to be on way back in like the 70s or 80s? Like Make Me Laugh or something like that?
No, I'll look it up right now.
Still using the same material, it would seem.
Damn it doesn't matter. It holds up. I thought he was on the Gong Show. No.
Well, he was on the Gong Show too, but there was another show I remember him being on. So the continuing a trend, and we had Jackie the Joke Man on previously, also using material from a similar decade.
Hey, thank you. First off,
Yes.
thank you to the Unknown Comic. I would actually buy that paper bag. I'm sure he's already thrown it out, but I would love if there was any way to get my hands on that thing. I would fucking love to have that paper bag.
Well, he's clearly Team Brian because he brings up why your name isn't first, and that's a touchy subject sometimes.
I'm sure that's because William Esquire showed him the download and views from 2 weeks ago when Brian did an hour and 40 by himself, and Ron shows that he can't go more than an hour, which is something that I know Mrs. Ron has always complained about, that Ron doesn't, isn't willing to put that extra time in, that he can't put that effort in, that after an hour he taps out. But no, Brian keeps going for an hour and 40 until everybody exhausted. No, we're not done until everybody comes.
All right. Good to know. Brian, what are we going to
Yes.
talk about on episode 200? What would you like to start with?
No, Ron, as a 51% owner of the podcast,
Yes.
on our 200th episode, I believe it is only fitting that we talk about things that you want to talk about. I will
All right.
react, I will respond, but you're in the driver's seat. You are leading the bus. You are at the front of the parade. You are in master control.
This time's gotta stop.
Well, let's start off with the Bruce Willis story. It was announced earlier last week that Bruce Willis was going to be stepping away from acting due to being diagnosed with aphasia. Am I saying that correctly?
Aphasia,
which is a language disorder caused by brain damage that affects a person's ability to communicate. People that suffer strokes it'll sometimes appear in them. Since then, number of stories coming out kind of talking about issues over the past few years about directors, producers, fellow actors being concerned about his declining cognitive state. So his family released a press statement. Actually have had no actual comment from Bruce Willis. He's been around a long time. I forgot, going back to the 80s with
why would Janelle be clapping? Why would Janelle be clapping at a cognitive disorder for Bruce? It's I can't say that. That's actually terrible. It's
but going back to, I think Moonlighting was his first big hit on TV, and then Die Hard came out, and then just an impressive 35-year career. I mean,
impressive. I don't know. I wouldn't. Okay, and this is the thing about Bruce Willis. Okay. I think that he has been in some absolutely incredible movies.
Right.
He's also been in a lot of shitty movies.
I would say that I would agree with that.
Janelle says that you guys are terrible. I think what she really means is that Bruce Willis is terrible. Once again, Janelle, that's not funny. But I think what you're looking at with Bruce Willis is a man who believed in working. He was a worker. He was always doing stuff. I personally kind of go with the idea that he had a big nut and therefore had to keep working, had to be making. I mean, some of the stories that have coming out, the LA Times had such a deep dive on the last couple of years of his career. Like, this is not something that has popped up recently. Over the past, I think, 4 or 5 years, as he has been putting out a stream of B and C level poor quality movies. The man's making $2 million for a day or two of work,
right,
just so that he can be part of a movie, and good for him. Problem is the fact that it seems like with this cognitive disorder that he has been suffering from, he's not really aware of what's going on or surrounding him. There have been stories that have leaked out where, he's asked, people at while filming, I know why you're here. I know why this guy's here, but I don't know why I'm here.
Right.
Stories from people who've been on the set where, his roles have been cut back dramatically so that he would have an easier time performing. Examples where, basically for him to act in the movie, he is limited to a 4-hour day, and he'll do 2 hours of 4-hour acting, and then he's gone. The earpiece, where he's not able to remember dialogue or whatnot. It's a real shame.
Sure.
A lot of times people said that he had done some early gay porn in his career. I don't know whether that's true or not, but
I think you're thinking of Sylvester Stallone now.
no. Dominic agrees.
Oh.
Dominic agrees that yes, that Bruce Willis did do some gay porn. I never saw any of it, so it's still alleged to me. But the truth of the matter is, when it comes to Bruce Willis, is the fact that when you look at his whole catalog of work, there is some just absolutely incredible performances. And not only that, but there's also just incredible movies that he's been in.
Yes.
Where, like a Pulp Fiction. Yes, he was not the main character or whatnot, but, would that movie have done so well had it not been for Bruce Willis?
You have to wonder. And amazingly, his movies have grossed over $5 billion worldwide. Brian, so this begs the question, what would your Mount Rushmore of Bruce Willis movies be?
Okay, now I've got 2 lists here.
Okay.
I'm limited to 4 movies, correct?
Correct.
Now, are we talking about my favorite movies starring Bruce Willis, or are we talking about my favorite Bruce Willis performances?
Your favorite Bruce Willis movies.
I did not think that I was going to stymie you with that question.
I was confused because I'm not quite sure what the difference is.
Okay, well, the difference is this.
Okay.
Is like a Pulp Fiction.
Right.
An amazing movie. He is one of a ensemble cast.
I would almost like that as a Bruce Willis movie.
Okay, but Bruce Willis is, maybe you could argue that he is the piece de resistance of Pulp Fiction, but it's not necessarily a movie he carries, whereas A Sixth Sense is really a Bruce Willis movie.
I think just movies that he has appeared in, even if it's as a supporting role.
Okay, well then I will. Would you like to start, or would you like me to start?
I would like to hear yours first, sir. The people have spoken. They want to hear what you think.
Okay, so I'm going to say fuck you to limiting me to 4 movies. I went with 6.
All right.
And I would like to also point out that when I said 6, I put up 7 fingers.
So you're doing well.
I'm doing all right. I'm doing great. Life's like, there's absolutely nothing going on in my life that would cause me to not be happy right now. All right. So these are my 6, not in order.
Okay.
First one, Unbreakable, with Samuel L. Jackson, written by M. Night Shyamalan. You know me, I'm a sucker for any movie that takes place in Philadelphia. This one I thought was an ode to comic books, and I don't really give a shit about comic books, but it was such a great movie that showed the dichotomy between 2 individuals. One who was literally made out of glass. The man, Samuel L. Jackson plays a character whose bones are so brittle that they break at any moment, whereas Bruce Willis played literally a man who had lived his entire life without realizing that he could not be hurt in any way. And it's about his progress as he gets to a place where he realizes that he is almost superhuman.
Okay.
Then I'm going to go with the obvious, Die Hard. God damn it. That movie came out at the right phase of my life. I love that movie. I can watch it at any time. I will catch it whenever, at any point in the movie. I feel like I grew up in the Nakatomi Plaza tower. You can't go wrong with that movie.
That's
Next, also going to go obvious. Sixth Sense. Bruce Willis plays again. I believe that's another M. Night Shyamalan movie.
You are correct.
Shyamalong ding dong. Another where he plays a child psychiatrist who is trying to help a boy who is quite troubled. No spoiler alerts on that one. I see dead people. All right, so that's an obvious one. Here I'm going to switch it up. The Siege, starring Denzel Washington.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, as somebody who loves New York City, who is obsessed with terrorism, Bruce Willis playing an army general who is brought on to take over the government of New York City while it is going through a series of terrorist attacks. Denzel plays an FBI agent Denzel Washington plays. Okay, all right. You know what? You don't have to really. Okay, I'm catching flack here. I'm catching flack. I don't need to catch flack. Denzel plays an FBI agent who is opposed to a military control of New York City. That movie also one of my greatest Bruce Willis movies. Then I'm going to go with Sin City.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I'm not necessarily a comic book fan, but God damn it, did Bruce Willis really just like nail the vibe of the comic book? There was very much, a feel to that. Bruce Willis's character absolutely pulls it off. And last but not least, ending the 6 movies of my top 4 Bruce Willis movies are 12 Monkeys with Brad Pitt, which is about a global pandemic that takes over the earth. Bruce Willis plays somebody who goes back in time to try to save the earth from the disease that causes literally mankind to have to go underground. I feel it's one of his best performances.
All right, I would agree with you. All right, you mind? I'll do 6 movies now since you did 6. Mine will probably be a little bit shorter since you gave us a movie-long synopsis of each. So,
hey, Ron, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. Clearly, the people have spoken that they actually prefer to listen to my voice. They prefer to hear me talk. They prefer to hear my in-depth. This time's gotta stop.
Sorry, couldn't resist. But listen, and again, this is why we're so simpatico. I mean, 5 out of the 6 movies that you picked are mine. Unbreakable.
No way.
Yeah, Unbreakable is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's one of those movies that I could literally watch at any point. The concept, the story was just so different from anything at that time. Sixth Sense, great movie. Pulp Fiction, like you said, great. Die Hard, obviously. 12 Monkeys, fantastic. I'm gonna give one. It's not it wasn't a critic's favorite, but it's one that I personally liked. Cop Out with Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis. It's so bad it was good. Don't ask me why. It's just one of those ones that it was just so. It was one of those ones he did for the paycheck.
Right.
But I enjoyed it. I saw Fifth Element in the I couldn't get into Fifth Element, and you would think like it was a pretty solid lineup, like him and Gary Oldman, Chris Tucker,
and Mila Jovovich.
But yeah, just couldn't get into it.
I watched it once and did not walk away with the sense that this was a classic.
So, well, sad to hear, but yeah, we'll have to have a Bruce Willis. We'll watch some Bruce Willis movies the next time you're done.
Now, will we be naked, covered ourselves in KY jelly like we did for the John Malkovich marathon that we did, or will this be somewhat different?
There is that's the only way to do it.
Okay.
Should we do
Sure.
Should we do a John Malkovich Mount Rushmore, or have we talked enough about movies?
Well, I think John Malkovich needs to retire from acting before he goes, pay this man his money.
He beat me.
Fair and square. Check, 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 check.
All right. Next up, we've got another.
And if anybody is watching this right now who does not get the reference that we just threw out there, shame on you. Go watch Rounders.
Go see Rounders. So
It's
we have
one of his,
another.
which is ironic because it's one of his worst performances.
Oh,
That is one of
without a
the
doubt.
worst. That is a worst. That is a terrible accent.
And I think I told you the clip I saw of Matt Damon being interviewed, and Matt Damon said they did that first take where he did the Teddy KGB voice,
Sure.
and then at the break, like John Malkovich leaned in and was like, "I'm a terrible actor," and in that movie, he was.
Yeah. Well, he was okay. There's the thing. His accent was so atrocious in that, but he's such a strong, powerful actor that you feel the weight of almost like physical harm as soon as he walks in the room. Like there's a sense of dread that you understand from the main character when Malkovich is in those scenes.
Yeah.
Kind of like our listeners feel when you come on the show.
Very similar. Very similar. All right, we've got our next story is another Bruce. Brian, I know you like certain stories. You love stories about furries. You love stories about incompetent state politicians, and you love stories from the Cornhusker State, Nebraska. This has all three, Brian. Has all three. You're calling a timeout. What's up?
For our new listeners who may not be familiar with what a furry is, as somebody who works in the hotel industry, Ron, can you please explain what a furry is? Because I remember during the early days of the podcast when you went into detail with your personal experiences at work with furries.
Well, we can always have people go back and listen. This gentleman gives a very convoluted explanation as to what furries are. This is Nebraska State Senator Bruce Bostelman. He was actually, there was a televised debate on a bill intended to help school children who have behavioral problems. And so this was kind of his feedback.
I'm a little shocked, I guess is what I would put it. It's called something called furries. If you don't know what furries are, it's where school children dress up as animals, cats or dogs, during the school day. They meow and they bark, and they interact with their school, with the teachers and that in this fashion. And now schools are wanting to put litter boxes in the schools for these children to use. How is this sanitary? I'm going to have a discussion with CEO Smith about this. This is something I think, how can schools allow this to happen? I think it's very disruptive within the school system. I think it's very disruptive within the classes. I even heard from one person here recently said that a student identified as a cat and wanted a litter box. And the school didn't provide the litter box, so the student went ahead and defecated on the floor. Really? Really?
Really?
School administrators, what is going on? Nebraska Department of Education, what is going on? State Board of Education, what is going on? If some kids can't wear American flag to walk through the school on their shirt, and you keep them out of school, and you kick them out of school, but it's okay if they wear a cat costume, and that's fine, and you have a litter box for them, and that's fine?
All right, Brian, this may shock you. Pretty much everything that State Senator Bostelman said right there is not true.
Okay. I believe that. I believe that very much.
So these are all rumors that were raised in a private Facebook group called Protect Nebraska Children. So this went viral, obviously. One Twitter video had over 300,000 views. Obviously, he drew a lot of online criticism and ridicule, so much so that he had to come out a few days after that and apologize. And that basically said, what he said was not actually factual whatsoever.
Oh, so he admitted that what he said wasn't true.
He said he had heard it. Again, no saying who he had heard it from, but didn't realize that. He said, well, this is something I felt if it really was happening, we needed to address it and address it quickly.
Sure. So he's going with the Donald Trump style of like, everybody's saying that this hurricane is going to go into Alabama.
Yeah. And so this is kind of, it's the whole challenge going on with public school restroom issues with, transgender students being banned from using, the restroom of what they identify as. And now he literally is claiming that there was litter boxes in school districts, and the schools were like, there is literally no litter boxes in any of our schools.
As somebody who has interacted with furries, Ron.
Yes.
If you're hosting a furry convention in your hotel,
yes,
and they do request that the rooms come with litter boxes, would you provide them?
I mean, for the right price, yes.
God damn it. I love the fact that you are a capitalist at heart. And for you, for the right price, you will just sell out all levels of human decency. And you will just sit there and be like, shit in that box, tap some litter over it, pay your bill on the way out, and we will all be happy.
Long as that credit card goes through when you check in, we're okay with that. We are more than okay with that.
But I think this speaks to a larger issue going on in this country right now, which is the right. I don't even like, this isn't even the far right anymore. This is the right who have clung to this agenda of we must protect the children. And in so many cases, they're using examples that are non-existent. They're one of the very popular themes of the right now is children trafficking, of children being kidnapped and molested and raped and whatnot. And the percentages that they are believing where this is happening are far exaggerated, and they're almost being made up so that they are given an opportunity of taking a moral high ground on an issue that doesn't actually even exist. And this is the narrative that the right seems to have accepted. I believe you used the word hyperbole recently.
I did.
But that seems to be the talking points of the far right of late, which is let's just make up an issue and take a moral stand on it, and that will provide us with further backing. There was what was the big issue this past week with Congressman Cawthorn?
Hawthorne, yes.
Madison, I thought it was Cawthorn.
Cawthorn could be.
Couldn't give a shit. He's the dude in the wheelchair who married a Russian woman on a trip to Russia, but maybe we're going to pretend that he's not a Russian asset. But he went on a podcast earlier this week where he talked about one of the biggest surprises for him was the cocaine-fueled sex orgies that he has witnessed in Washington, D.C. as a freshman member of Congress. Now, this got a lot of attention, and a lot of Republicans were immediately like, oh my gosh, you need to name names. You need to tell us who are the Congress people who are participating in these drug-fueled orgies. And as soon as he was confronted with it, he immediately came out with, oh, yeah, that wasn't true. I just, I made that up because it sounded good.
Yeah. Well, they have to manufacture outrage is what it comes down to. They have to, create issues that don't exist, or they have to, fight for things that, they're trying to make it seem like they're taking the high ground, but just, facing just hypocritical, like this, their whole stance on transgender athletes just is,
sure.
This is what what bugs me about that, I mean, again, we've discussed that before, and it's obviously a complex issue. But what's amazing to me is the same politicians and pundits that are coming out against transgender athletes in sports. These are the same politicians that over the years have wanted to get rid of Title IX and defund women's sports and get rid of equality. They have dragged their feet about renewing the Violence Against Women Act. They don't want to pass, equal pay for equal wage. They want to take away women's, reproductive rights. They want to take away women's rights in general. But all of a sudden, they're concerned about female athletes competing against transgender athletes, and it's just hypocritical and stupid.
Well, I mean, you're look what we're talking about.
Right.
I had a good point, and you made me realize it. You're talking about the mock outrage, and you're talking about the fake outrage. Now, is that similar to you being upset that my solo episode had more listeners than any episode that you've been part of?
That's true outrage, pure unadulterated rage.
This has gotta stop.
So speaking of people not really knowing what's going on, so I forgot to talk to you about this before the episode, but there was a great article on
Ron, as 51% owner of this show, you are not required to run anything by me anymore.
All right.
There was a reason we made that bet on Super Bowl Sunday. There is a cost that I have to pay for losing that bet. This is your show. I'm just along for the ride.
So anyway, YouGov America did a poll back in January, and what they were trying to find out is they were trying to see if Americans overestimate or underestimate the size of minority groups or majority groups, and like the skew of what people think and what people is actually the case in America is insane. So what percentage of our country's population would you say are Muslim?
I'm going to say 12%.
All right. The people who took this poll estimated that the proportion was 27%. The actual proportion, 1%.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Well,
you know what? I live in New York City, so I imagine that the percentage is a lot higher by me.
So interesting you say that. What would you say the proportion of people that live in New York City is as a percentage of the population of the country?
Oh. What is the percentage of the total American population that lives in New York City?
Correct.
I'm going to go with 8%.
All right, you're close. The country felt that 30% lives in New York City. It is actually only 3%.
Okay, I was not close.
Let's just see if there's what else were people very much off on. Percent of atheists in this country.
I'm going to say 40.
All right, you're a little high. Everybody who took the poll said 33%.
Not the first time I've been accused of that, Ron.
The actual number is 3%.
No.
Yes.
You're telling me 3% of Americans admitted that they were atheists?
That is what the surveys show.
Okay.
Let's see if there's anything else interesting that you might be able to get here. How many people percentage-wise in this country are Catholic?
29.
You were better than most. Most people thought 41%. It's actually 22%.
Okay.
So anyway, we'll share that link on our social media so you can actually take a deeper dive into that if you want.
I think that this just truly feeds the narrative that we are not an educated country. We are not an educated people. Here, perfect example. Look at that. That's my reaction right there. Fucking yikes. But it's the fact that this country is not educated, yet we feel so dedicated to our preconceived notions that we take our facts.
Right. Here's one I'll end with to buoy that statement you just had. What percentage of the population has at least a high school degree?
I'm going to go with 50.
So the people that took the poll thought it was 89%. It is actually 65%.
Yeah. We are not an educated country.
No.
We do not have a good education system. Yet there is an inherent belief that has been more encouraged over recent years that we are right in our beliefs.
Well, and again,
It's fucking embarrassing.
Not only is the education system screwed up in this entire country, but now it's you
under
are
attack.
ridiculed. You are ridiculed if you are educated.
Well, yeah. Not only are you ridiculed if you're educated, you're considered like this, a feat elite if you're educated.
Right.
But the actual education system is now currently under attack amongst southern and midwestern states, where they are actually trying to limit what can be discussed.
Sure. Yeah, it's
tragic. It's fucking tragic. That's why I say that what we should all do right now is find somebody that you love, hold up in your home or apartment with them, and be prepared to all die within the next 20 years. And and not think about America as a country that's going to exist for hundreds of years. I genuinely believe you're looking at the decline of this country. We are no longer the world leader that we once were.
That's better.
All right, I'll accept it. It sounds a little bit better. And hopefully it ends pretty soon.
Now, before we run out of time, can we play the Governor Ron DeSantis campaign song? Brian, you brought this to my attention.
Yep.
Who was this recorded by exactly?
This was recorded by Gus Van Sant, who is the current lead singer of Lynyrd Skynyrd.
All right, and they shot some video with Ron DeSantis, and I've said this before. I don't know how you look at Ron DeSantis and the just blank, stupid look on his face and not realize that he's just a dullard. But so let's play this new campaign song of his, "Sweet Florida." We've got a little intro with Gus and the governor when we start off here. So let's get this going.
It's a little different than what you've heard on the iPhone. So now I was asking them, do you like listening to it loud?
Yeah, however you want.
Okay. Yeah. Just push play?
I believe so, sir.
Okay. All right, here we go. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
It's a little different.
Press don't like him, but it sure does get my business. He stands up for what he believes. So don't come down here trying to change things. We're doing all right in the Sunshine State. Stay out of our business, leave our gov alone. Down in sweet Florida, red, white, and blue. Oh, down in sweet Florida, he's shooting us straight, telling us the truth. Yeah, that's right. You could take it to the bank. He don't care what Brandon thinks at the White House. Yeah, he's fighting for the right to keep our state free. Well, he's taking on the swamp and he's calling out Dr. Fauci. He's the only one fighting for you and me. You and me. Yeah, we're free. Yeah, we're free. Down in sweet Florida.
Brian?
Oh. Oh.
So if there are any complaints to be made, Brian asked that we included that. Sweet Florida.
Okay, first off, those songs always are historically shitty. Like it's just a shitty song.
Right.
Like it's not a very good song. This is something that would make Kid Rock jealous that he didn't write that song.
Right.
Second of all, I mean, don't get me wrong. there are certain things that DeSantis is bringing to the table. I don't think he's 100% wrong. Do I think he's 95% wrong? Yeah, I do. But do I believe that there are state rights, and do I believe that a governor of a state should be able to dictate what goes on within that state within like their legal means? Sure, why not? But holy fuck, Florida has been a shit show. It is a shit show. It always was a shit show, and it's only gotten worse. Right. And the people that are being attracted to Florida, in my opinion, are actually making the state even worse. Florida. So what is Florida? So what I find most shocking and surprising is that DeSantis has such a national profile that he really is the strongest contender to Donald Trump for the Republican nomination for the Republican Party for president in 2024.
Which is frightening as hell.
And he's free in Florida.
And he's fighting for our right to get sick and go on a ventilator.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's every bad law that you see coming out right now seems to be originating in Florida.
Can you do me a favor? And I know we have a bit where Ron explains shit to Brian, and I don't think we have a bumper for it. But can you please explain to me what the recent legislation in Florida was that limited the education for LGBTQ conversations in the schools? Because I was not following it, but it suddenly blew up when Florida passed a law, or they were pushing forth a law. And then I know Disney didn't want to get involved, but then they came in hard, and now they're getting a backlash.
Right. So you're referring to the Parental Rights in Education bill, which has been labeled as the Don't Say Gay law that Governor DeSantis signed in. So basically what it does, first, it bans instruction or classroom discussion about LGBTQ issues for kindergarten through third grade. It also empowers parents to sue a school district over teachings that they don't like, and the district would have to pay for that. And it requires schools to tell parents when their child receives mental health services.
Okay.
So that's basically the three major tenets of the bill.
All right. Listen, I don't agree with it. That's me. No. And I'll tell you something. That's why I live in New York, which is almost the opposite of Florida, where New York is very heavily regulated. Government does have a lot of say in what we do. And it just so happens that a majority of the people in New York agree with the regulations and the direction that the state government is pointing us towards.
Well, I think you would say that a majority of the people in the New York City area agree with that. I think once you get past Rockland County, you're kind of in, no man's land once you get into upstate New York.
Oh, Ron, those people don't fucking matter because upstate New York doesn't fucking matter. Because they're fucking hicks and they think they live in New York, but their population numbers are so low that New York City literally describes everything that is New York. And Saratoga Springs customers at Price Chopper don't give a shit because they know they're outnumbered.
All right, maybe we'll remix the Van Sant song.
Because we're not free in New York.
And William pointed out our mistake.
Wear your... Oh, I'm not done. Ron, I'm not done yet. Wear your mask when you're in public transportation. Wear your mask when you're in a fucking Uber because you're in New York and we're trying to keep you safe. See, Ron, this is the kind of content that our listeners are willing to sit there for an hour and 40.
Clearly.
Because this is what they want.
That's what the people have spoken. It's what they want. Yes. Now you've completely made me lose my train of thought. Oh, we did
Ron,
have.
if you think that I bring anything to this table other than my job to make you lose your train of thought, then then you are sorely mistaken.
So we do have a follow up of the story we covered a few years ago. It was a feel good story in Philadelphia about a homeless man that had given money to a woman whose car had run out of gas.
Yeah, we love that
The
story.
woman and her boyfriend set up a GoFundMe, raised like $400,000, and then we find out the entire thing was a lie. Looks like this is finally completely wrapped up now. The boyfriend Mark D'Amico finally wrapped up his court case. He will have to serve 27 months in prison, and then he will also have to serve 3 years probation, and then also pay restitution and undergo gambling, drug, and mental health counseling.
Gee, now the question is, is that one type of counseling, or does he have to see 3 different counselors? Like, is there one about gambling, one about mental health, and one about drinking?
So it was gambling, drug, and mental health counseling.
Or do you think there's one counselor that addresses all 3?
It's a good question. I don't have an answer for you on that. I mean, he's got 27 months to go through it, so I guess he could probably break it up a bit.
He's got a lot of time. Got a lot of time on his hands.
He's got time.
Hold on, time out. He's got time in Florida because he's got drug and gambling and other substance issues to talk about because he lied and GoFundMe when he basically let a homeless man run a train on his girl.
You got a Eddie Vedder thing kind of going on there.
He's got time.
What else do we have here? Brian, do you want to see the video of the high school track punch?
Hell yeah. That is if there was anything that was a obvious question, if there was anything where the world knew my answer, Ron, you asked an obvious question. An obvious question in Florida.
So this was, I'm trying to see where this was, where this took place. It was a high school runner, I believe, up in Canada, who basically got punched while running in a high school track meet from someone that was literally just watching the track meet. Play that again. I think that's in towards the end. But so you see him running there. Guy comes up and just literally distracts him. According to bystanders, the man who threw the punch was standing on the track. He actually wasn't even in the race, and this was during the 300-meter race. The runner kind of pushed him out of the way because he was on the track the first time around. Second time around, he struck the runner in the head on his next lap. The kid did manage to get up and finish the race. The gentleman has been arrested and charged, but we have not heard anything additional at this point.
So if we actually had an analogy to what we just watched, the runner in the white shirt is Anthony Fauci. The runner in the dark shirt, who wasn't technically a runner,
right?
He's Governor DeSantis of Florida.
Yes. I think you pretty much nailed it right there. Pretty much nailed it. Celebrity obituaries, Brian. We got to say goodbye to some folks.
Who died?
So who did we lose this week? We lost Tom Parker, lead singer of British Irish boy band The Wanted, passing away at the age of 33 from terminal brain cancer. Don't really know.
Do I know him? Should I care?
I don't know. But he passed away, and people knew him.
Okay.
I know this one hurt, Brian. This one cut you deep. Porn star Raven Alexis passing away at the age of 35 following a battle with Crohn's disease.
I don't know who the hell that was, but what struck me was that she claimed to have died from Crohn's disease. Foreshadowing, people, we're going to bring that point up a little bit later.
All right. And then two big losses this week. First, star of Sopranos and Goodfellas, Paul Herman, passing away on his 76th birthday.
Beansy.
I know I think you have his name tattooed on you, don't you?
Upper thigh. If the only way to see it is if I push my ball bag to the left, you can see Beansy tattooed on my upper thigh. It's something only a few people have ever seen.
Understood. And then finally, Estelle Harris, known best as Mrs. Costanza on Seinfeld. She also apparently was the voice of Mrs. Potato Head in the Toy Story movie franchise.
No way.
Passing away of natural causes at the age of 93.
Listen, Ron and you and I are of the same age group. Seinfeld was literally a life-defining series. The characters in it, the messages that it taught. Estelle Harris, she was Mrs. Costanza. She was the mother that we all had in terms of a moral compass. The fact that some people here find it funny that she passed away, just poor taste. But it was just, whenever she would go, George! But there were so many classic scenes.
Only in 27 episodes of Seinfeld.
And that tells you how incredible she was, because you would think she was one of the top 6 characters.
Yeah.
To me, the incredible episode with her was when she was in the hospital because she threw her back out because she caught George satisfying himself to if I'm not correct, it was some kind of brassiere catalog.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Speaking of TV and shows, Brian, what are you watching?
Oh, okay. I've not had a lot of time in front of the TV. But one thing I did happen to catch earlier this week on Netflix was a documentary called, oh shit, I forgot the name of it. Trust No One, The Hunt for the Crypto King. And what it is the story of a Canadian cryptocurrency exchange that popped up almost, as cryptocurrency was really starting to grab a hold, and at its peak was probably worth, a couple $100 million, or a couple billions if you're talking Canadian dollars. That's a foreign exchange joke, people. If you're not operating at my level, even Ron didn't chuckle at that joke. I made a foreign exchange joke, people. This is an hour and 8 minutes into the show, and I'm making 4X jokes. Anywho, but it's a story of a cryptocurrency exchange that's being run by this guy. It was one of the first exchanges in Canada that allowed people to buy and sell cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XLM, Scale, GRM, SK. This time's gotta stop. And at its peak, unfortunately, the owner of, or not the owner, but the principal of the crypto exchange dies of Crohn's disease. While he and his wife are in some very remote place of India. And what the story coming out of it is that he was the only person who had the passwords to the wallet for that exchange, so that any crypto that people had in that exchange were literally lost upon his death.
Allegedly.
We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's very interesting. Did he die? Where's the money? What is a cold wallet? What is a warm wallet? What is a hot wallet? What is a hot pocket?
I did learn more about cryptocurrency.
What is an
watching
Alabama? What is
this
an
documentary.
Alabama hot pocket? Can I keep? Can I keep just rambling on? No, you learned a lot about cryptocurrency there.
I learned some things.
Okay.
Like what a cold wallet is.
Well, that's because you did not spend a week sitting in the back of the LOA tour bus with Mr. Alan Robert, who walked me through all of that, leading me up to my first NFT purchase of a Monster Chomper. What were your thoughts about the documentary?
I thought it was very interesting. Again, I think, it really shows how people can be drawn into conspiracy theories very easily with, what was very kind of telling to me is, there was so many investors tied up in this whole thing, and they got like two people to talk about it who were like the most into like the conspiracy theory. So it's like, I mean, you feel bad. There's a guy who literally loses like $400,000.
Sure.
But the underlying, story was people were just greedy and they were willing to believe anything. Like the guy who lost $400,000 is because he wanted to transfer money into Canada and not pay, whatever the charge was.
Sure.
Like 2% or whatever. And he's like, oh, I'll just turn it into crypto and get it when I get there. But yeah, good documentary. I would recommend people check it out. Brian, I also saw the new Scream movie. Not necessarily a reboot, I guess a requel, they would call it. So it's
what is a requel?
So it's basically, it's continuing the story, but it's not quite a direct sequel. A lot of the original cast is in there. Courtney Cox, Neve Campbell, David Arquette. Introducing a whole lot of different characters. Wee Man's in
it. Yes.
I would say this. It was a good way to kill 2 hours. Like, I don't know that I would have paid money for it, but it was decent. It's about all I would say.
Well, not everybody thought it was a good movie, apparently.
No, apparently not. So, what are you gonna do, Brian? Anything additional before we wrap up this 200th episode?
Well, the only thing I would ask is that can you please let people know why they should join our Patreon?
Because we're going to do another half hour. I mean, we have entertained you for an hour and 12 minutes so far. We're going to do another half hour at 9:30 for the elite, for those that are willing to join our Patreon, to go to ronandbrianpodcast.com. Click in the upper right-hand corner. For $5, you can get it after the fact. But for $10 a month, you get live access every Sunday night at 9:30, including the final Sunday, like last week, where we did our pajama party, where we invite our Patreon listeners on, and you compete in Can You Beat Ron? And spoiler alert, you can beat Ron, apparently. So we will do that again at the end of April. I will look to get my winning streak back on track.
Very good. And also, just to let people know that you can keep the banner going. I mean, I'm willing to spend another 75 cents to let it keep going. That the costs that the monies that people put towards this podcast in terms of the Patreon, we reinvest that. We're not making money off of this podcast.
Right.
We are offsetting the expenses of the show. This, running this website expenses, running our YouTube page, putting these banners together. There are a lot of costs. We are going out of pocket for that. If you are enjoying the show, if you enjoy the hour that we just put forth, hour and 13 minutes, and you want to say, hey, I would like to help out, then join the Patreon. What you get for it are stories that we are not comfortable putting out to the masses. These are stories that we want to keep behind the paywall. They might be sexy in nature. They might be spicy in nature. Maybe there are going to be some personal stories that we don't really want everybody to know about. So we want it to just be kind of like something that we're a little bit more comfortable with because we're amongst friends. It's a way for you to help out the show. For example, the monies that we just contributed towards Planned Parenthood, some of those funds were put together from the money that we collect on Patreon. And if I drag out a sentence anymore, Ron will tell me. So you got 15 minutes. If you are watching this live on YouTube and you have not joined our Patreon right now, please do so. Go to Ron and Brian Podcast. Click the link in the upper right-hand corner where it says Become a Patron. It's for as little as $5 a month. You get the audio of the show, but you are missing out. For $10 or more, you get a bunch of tiers of swag, bags, podcast stickers, keychains, face masks, other things. You get I'm willing to perform sexual acts on you, which everybody wants. Okay, well, maybe not everybody. Not everybody wants that, but okay. The point being is that this time's gotta stop. What a great show, Ron. Thanks for joining me. Thank you, everybody, for watching who is joining this live. If you're listening to the audio of it, we also appreciate it. I love everybody.
All right. We love all of you. Thank you for joining us for 200 episodes. We'll do at least 200 more. And we did not hit you with any Will Smith, Chris Rock in stories, so you should be thankful for that as well.
Don't care. Done.
So thank you for joining us. For our Patreon subscribers, we will see you in a few minutes. For everybody else, we will see you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian Podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com.